Welcome and or welcome back to my channel. I'm Hannah Blackwell and today I'm going to be sharing with you my favorite alien romance books. So I have 7 books here. One of them isn't technically alien romance, but it is like space romance, if that makes sense. So it's set in space, but it's not like an alien romance, but I thought I really want to talk about it. Where else would I talk about it, right? So this video is actually sponsored by my patrons. I gave them the choice. I give the top 2 tiers in my Patreon a choice of my content once a month and they get to pick it out. And this month it was a choice between alien romance recommendations and survival romance recommendations. So I do still want to eventually do a survival romance recommendation video because I've been reading a lot of those, but I've also been reading a lot of alien romances. I couldn't pick. The 2 genres really have similar vibes and tropes that I really enjoy. And so that's why I feel like the 2 are very comparable. So maybe I'll do a video on survival romances in February or March. But yeah, this video is brought to you by my Patreon. And if you want more information about my Patreon, that's all linked down below. There's a lot of different tiers and ways to be involved. But you just get a lot of behind the scenes access. There's a Discord, there's a book club, and there's just a lot of fun stuff going on over there. So check it out if you are interested. If you want to follow me on any other platforms, all of my social media is linked down below in the description as well. Don't forget to click the like button and comment down below. Let me know what your favorite alien romance is. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps my channel grow if you click that notification bell so that you can be notified every time I post new videos. It's just the way the algorithm works. So with all of that out of the way, let's get into this recommendation list. We have to get the queen out of the way, because obviously I'm going to recommend Miss Ruby Dixon. I've read a few different books by her, and for this video I'm going to recommend the Planet Barbarians series. I'm sure you've heard of it, but I have to recommend it. I've read 7 books in the series so far. I think my favorite book was book 5. It was Tiffany's book, but I did recently get the first 2 books in this new cover. These were gifted to me by Jess from Honest Fiction, so thank you so much, Jess. So the Planet Barbarians series is like a snowy, icy alien romance series, actually perfect for this round of Once Upon a Readathon. So if you haven't checked these out, these are great. They're short. It's a great way to earn some icy, snowy points for your team for Once Upon a Readathon. But this is basically about these women who have been taken from North America, and they've been kidnapped by this really mean, disgusting, awful alien race, but then they've kind of been dropped at this planet. There's something that came up and they'd be kind of just dropped off, and where they were dropped off was the planet of Not Hoth, and there are these big blue aliens on this planet, and they have these fated mate bonds that they form with these women. Each book follows a different heroine, a different couple, and these big blue aliens are so freaking sweet. It's just a lot of basically like big cinnamon roll heroes, and there's a lot of survivalist elements too. This planet is very cold. These women and the aliens can't even survive without a cooey in their chest. It's called a cooey, and it's basically this parasite. So they have these I can't remember what you call that, like bond, basically like cohabiting. I don't know what that's called, but it's just basically they have to live with these creatures in their chest, and then these creatures make sure that their host body kind of like survives by making it more compatible with the environment so that they can deal with the extreme weather, the cold, and all of that stuff. But this is very fun. It's snowy, it's survivalist, it's cavemen basically, but they're aliens. And so yeah, these big blue barbarians, but most of them are just basically cinnamon rolls. They don't have a lot of women left, so just having the opportunity to form mate bonds and have someone to share their life with is so special to them. And it's just really sweet to see these big barbarians just melt for their heroines. This is a wonderful series. You don't want to take it too seriously. Also, make sure to check out the trigger warnings because there are some trigger warnings, especially for the first book and also book 5 as well. So make sure to check those out. But yeah, I adored this series. I've also read the first book in another series by her, but I think that's more of a post-apocalyptic survival kind of situation. So I'm not going to include that book series on this list because it's actually set on Earth, I believe. But it's her dragon series, and I'm just gonna save that for another list. But Ruby Dixon is an awesome writer. I really want to read more from her. Okay, while we're on the snowy, icy kind of vibe, let's talk about Cinta by Honey Phillips. This is a holiday romance technically, but I think it's really just, it's good for January and February too, the winter months. And this is about this woman who has experienced a breakup, and she goes to spend her holiday alone in a cabin. I think it's her uncle's cabin, and it's just very isolated on this mountain. And it's snowy, and she gets there, and this alien is doing reconnaissance on the planet, but he's kind of like crash landed, and he's got to fix his spaceship or whatever. And so in the process, he's supposed to be basically doing reconnaissance to study humans to see if they're ready to join the coalition of planets. So he sees our heroine and he immediately like falls for her. He is kind of like in survival mode, and his body can go into multiple different modes, and this survival mode is much more animalistic, I guess we should say. And he just is obsessed with her all of a sudden, and he starts leaving gifts at her doorstep to try to help her out because she's actually like without power. She's gotten herself in a snowy, isolated situation that she wasn't ready for. And so he starts leaving gifts to make sure that she is warm, safe, fed, etc. The two finally meet because she's like freaked out. She thinks she has a creepy stalker, which she kind of does, but he's not actually creepy. He's very sweet. And it's a really cute romance. Highly recommend. Another book I think is just perfect for once upon a readathon. It'll get you lots of points, and it's really fun, really cute. Honey Phillips writes really lighthearted, fun alien romances. I've got a second book on this list by her that I recommend that I will talk about next. So the other book that I've read by Honey Phillips that I really like is the first book in a series. It's 7 Brides for 7 Alien Brothers. So the first book is Artek. And Artek is like the leader of this group they're part of this like space coalition, like military, and they all were in the same like platoon, let's call it. And they get out of the military and they decide to move to this planet where they can kind of start anew. And this planet is full of a lot of like, basically like homesteaders. And they want to basically start a life for themselves, growing their own food, providing for themselves, basically fixing up this really nice house, and they all live together. There's also a town nearby of settlers. So it kind of reminds you a little bit of like when the Western expansion was happening in America. This is very much like the Wild West. And so there's this town, and they are humans in this town, and they know about these aliens, and because they come to town like once every like month or so. Our heroine works at this general store, and the hero meets her and kind of like falls for her, and they end up getting married. It's very cute. And I guess the premise of the rest of the series is she ends up telling this story to the alien brothers about these women who were taken by these men at this party of sorts, or this dance. I guess the aliens basically get the idea that they can just steal women and they will become their brides. They're not realizing that this is just not the right way to deal with this. The story was more like metaphorical or whatnot. I don't know. It's just very, very goofy. If you want a fun, like Western style, like homesteady type of goofy alien romance, then this one would definitely be for you. On a more serious note, I have Choosing Theo by Victoria Aveline. Now, this book is about a woman. She has been kidnapped and she has gotten herself free. She's on a planet where she doesn't know what's going on, but it's very similar to Earth. And luckily she is picked up by the government, actually. Like they come, they save her, and they have to pair her with someone because that's kind of like just the way it works in this world. They're having an issue basically with procreation, not being able to produce enough females. The society is looking at a possible collapse basically because of this. And so they have to pair her with someone, but she doesn't have to do anything with this person. She just has to live with them and get married, but they're only married for like a year, and this person will help her get acclimated into society and make her more comfortable, etc. She cannot go home because they don't believe that Earth is ready for the knowledge of other alien planets and that kind of thing. So she's never going to be able to go home. She needs to get acclimated to society. So she chooses Theo. Now, Theo he works for the government. I think he's kind of like CIA Special Forces or something like that. And he has scars all over his body from something that happened in his childhood. And in this society, he's not at all desirable because this society really prizes perfection. They even try to get rid of like our heroines' scars and moles or whatnot. Like they get rid of everything. Like perfection is really important to them. But these scars kind of look like tattoos to our heroine, and she finds him extremely attractive, but he just does not believe her. So there's a lot of miscommunication also going on in this. If you don't like miscommunication, it might be a little iffy for you. I usually don't like miscommunication, but I think it was done well in this book, and I really enjoyed it. Another thing I really liked about this book was there was a lot of political discussion. There was a lot of societal discussion, a lot of interesting conversations going on in this book. So I thought that the commentary was fun. It really made you think. That's not really all the time like what you get with romances, and I really liked that aspect of it. I also thought that the romance itself was really sweet, really nice, and the story was really interesting. Like I said, I would like to read more in this series. I've heard that there's more good books. A lot of people think that Choosing Theo is one of like the best books. I think there's another book in the series that kind of like is as good, but I think I've heard like some of the other books aren't really as good, might have been a bit disappointing. So I'd like to see for myself and see what I think. Ooh, here's another alien romance that is a bit more survivalist, which is something I really like in my alien romances. And this is Zuul by A.G. Wild. So in this book, we have our heroine. She's with some other women on this space station that they have been put into a simulation that is extremely dangerous. They have wild animals and even a dinosaur out to get them, and they are being abused. And basically these creatures have actually been infiltrated by this Federation to bring them down because they keep stealing women and people from other planets. They're doing things they're not supposed to be doing, and so they've been infiltrated to be taken down. And Zuul is one of the special forces, special ops aliens that is doing this, and it's a romance between him and one of these women, and the two basically escape to this nearby planet. But this nearby planet is like a desert-like, very hot, very difficult to survive in. He's supposed to basically have been landed and get to this rendezvous point, but to get there it's going to be really hard and not something like that he thinks like a human woman is going to be able to do. So he has to really like help her through it and take care of her, and the two have to survive on this planet together to get to their rendezvous point. There's a lot of stuff that happens along the way. This planet is just really inhospitable. There's dangerous things around every corner between the weather and the plant life and the animals, not to mention this other alien species that is out to get them too. So there's a lot of danger around every corner, and it's really fun. I also just really liked the romance. It's forced proximity, there's caretaking, a lot of fun tropes that I really enjoy. So if you want something a little bit more survivalist, I think Zuul and I think Planet Barbarians have that kind of similarity, but the difference being Planet Barbarians is icy and snowy, and Zuul it's on a more hot dry climate. Okay, so the last alien romance that I have on this list is Captive of the Horde King by Zoe Draven. I've read the first 3 books in this series, and I will say I think each book goes downhill so far. There are 6 books. I think that a lot of people's favorite is actually like the last book in the series. Getting there, I don't know. The first book, this book, was 6 stars, one of my favorite books of the year. If you saw my list of my favorite books of the year, I'll have it linked down below in the description. This was on that list. I adored this. This is basically like Dothraki fan fiction. We have this planet where there's these Dakari, and they have these hordes, and they worship the land and the grass, and there are 5 horde kings that basically keep order on the planet, and then there's like the main king who is in the main capital city. So in our first book, our heroine's brother burns grass in order to try to feed it and fertilize the land so that they can produce more crops. They are starving. They are settlers from Earth, but Earth has basically abandoned them and is not taking care of their own. So they're starving, and there's lots of rules about them not hunting because the Dakari are worried about the humans basically hunting up everything and destroying their animal populations. So anyway, her brother does a big no-no, and she ends up sacrificing herself in order to save him. So she ends up getting married to the Horde King, and so it's like a forced proximity, enemies to lovers type of story, but it's very sweet, very swoony. I really loved this romance. I thought it was so freaking good. The second book I think I gave like 4 stars. The third book I think I gave like 3 stars. So yeah, the series has gone downhill a bit for me. We were doing kind of like a read along on The Hideaway. It fell apart a bit because I think a lot of people found the series to be going downhill just like I did. But yeah, that doesn't change the fact that this first book is wonderful. And I know a lot of people that don't think the series goes really far downhill, a lot of people that like the whole series, so that could just be something that happened with the few of us, but it might not be a popular opinion. So definitely, if you like the first one, keep reading the series because you might still really like the rest of the books in the series. I did really enjoy book 2, I have to say. It just wasn't like as peak perfection as the first book, but I still really enjoyed that one. I just felt like the third book was just too long. Every book keeps getting longer and longer and longer, and I just didn't appreciate that because I don't think it was necessary. Okay, so the last book on this list is not necessarily an alien romance, but it is like a space romance. It's called Hold, and it's by Claire Kent. So this book is about this woman. She's like an archaeologist, and she gets in trouble with the Federation. I feel like a lot of these books have like a Federation, kind of like a planets have gotten together to create this society, or what, not society, but you know what I'm saying, coalition of planets. This empire or federation or whatever didn't like somewhere that she dug. She wasn't supposed to dig somewhere that she dug, but she wasn't aware of it. It wasn't purposeful, but she got arrested and she got sent to this prison planet, and this prison planet is basically all water, and the prison itself is underwater, so getting out is very difficult, and they kind of let these prisoners just go. They don't really monitor them. There is a lot of sexual assault that could happen, and also just there's people fighting over food. It's very like survival of the fittest. Just, she's told, promise yourself to someone, like the biggest baddest there, and promise yourself to him, basically give your body to him and get protection that way. And she basically does that, but then it becomes a romance between the two of them. So there's a lot of spice in this book. It's quite spicy, but I actually really enjoyed this because, like I said, this is another very like survivalist alien or survivalist space romance. But yeah, I really wanted to include that on this list just because I did find Claire Kent this year and really enjoyed her science fiction type of romances. And this one was, I guess more fitting for this list than a survivalist romance list, though I guess it could fit on either one really. But it was very unique. I've never read any kind of romance like this, but it's, I would say it's more like erotic romance. Like it's not like romance. It's very spicy. So just know that going in. But it was also a lot of fun. I really enjoyed myself. So that's it. Those are the 7 alien romance recommendations that I have for you. They're not every alien romance that I've read. I left out anything that was like 3 stars or below, I believe. But I have a lot more alien romance books I want to read. Let me know if you want to know my alien romance TBR, and I'd love to share that with you guys as well. If you like this video, don't forget to click the like button and comment down below. Let me know what your favorite alien romance is. Give me your recommendations. I've really discovered alien romance in 2023, and I want to read a lot more of it in 2024. Until next time, fellow readers, keep reading and living your best life.
Never said you felt that way. Guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts.